Okay, ladies, good evening all, and welcome to the fifth session of course one. And there are going to be a total of 6 sessions. The vision for relaxation and enlightenment course is number one, to promote mental and physical well-being among humanity. Second one is to promote and facilitate amicable interactions among humanity. And third one is to enlighten attendees on processes of achieving a feel-good factor in their personal lives. I have a short announcement. Please do not touch the mute button on your computer or phone if you are following this session on Zoom. You are all muted throughout the session. And please turn your mobile phones to silent so it does not interrupt the session. Thank you. My name is Dr. Amir Lakha. I'm a retired GP and author of the book, Heads You Win, Tails You Win. It is a book about human nature. And my topic for today is have a discussion, not an argument. Now that is a very important topic because it really deals with the art of conversation. So what does discussion mean? Discussion means it is having a conversation and finding a solution in a constructive manner. That is discussion. Remember this, because we are building the basics, then we are going into depth. Second point is the argument. What is an argument? Argument is a quarrel when two persons forcibly are pushing their own personal views while trying to put each other down. This is argument. So, ladies, can you tell me, would you rather have a discussion or would you rather have an argument? What would you prefer? Discussion is what all of you would prefer. And it is because you're wise, because when you choose arguments instead of discussion, you pay a heavy price. It's very costly. Not only does it cost you in terms of your mental health, but also your lifestyle and financially, and in many ways, which I will prove as I go along in my talk. Okay, so we have all agreed that it is better to have a discussion rather than an argument. Okay, mastering the art of conversation helps you to achieve success and popularity and also avoid problems in life. So why do people have arguments? There are many reasons why people have arguments. But I'm going to just talk about two reasons. One is they don't understand the mindset of the person they are talking to or dealing with. They don't understand it. Second one is they think they are always right. That is a problem. Two main reasons why there is an argument. So just in your family, believe it or not, you could be dealing with 5 different generic mindsets, depending on when they were born. So there might be somebody who is over 76 years of age. Then there is a second generation, which is called the baby boomers generation. These are people who are born between the year 1946 to 1964. They belong to the baby boomers generation. Then there is the millennials who were born between 1981 in 1996. Then there is the Generation Z, born between 1997 and 2009. Then there is the Generation Alpha, which is now 2010 born to the present. You see, 5 generations in one family, and they have different mindsets. How can you deal with them in the same way? You cannot. If you try to deal with them in the same way, it leads to an argument. Although both are right, they are living in different times and they are exposed to different things that you were not exposed to. So we are now trying to understand that when you have conversation with people, understand what sort of a mindset they've got. So their ways of thinking, values, lifestyle, and the belief systems may be different to yours. Although they may belong to the same culture as you and the same family as you. So remember this as we go along. So don't be judgmental. Treat all of them with love and understanding. They are living in different times. So they are not being difficult. They are living in different times. So what happens during arguments? People become angry and say things they really don't mean. Anger increases their blood pressure, has an effect on their heart, and they can't think clearly. After the altercation, they will feel exhausted after the argument. Stop the anger before it controls you. Don't let the anger control you. You have to practice controlling your anger. It is possible to control your anger. It's not difficult. You have to be prepared to do it. You can do it. Sometimes there is a cause for the arguments that occur. Sometimes there is no cause, no real cause for an argument, and yet there is an argument. So arguments can occur without a cause. When it is very hot environment, either because of the summer heat or somebody has turned the central heating very high, really high, it's a high temperature and it's extremely hot. It can lead to an argument, simple thing like that. Also, if you put people in a cramped room, or if they're hungry, or if they're thirsty, or haven't had enough sleep, or are exhausted after a long journey, or after hard work at the office, or if they're unwell, they can have an argument when there was no argument. For no cause, they can have an argument. Remember this, because you have to understand people. And when you are understanding the mindset of the person you're dealing with who's trying to have an argument, you give them a discount. You understand them. I'm not talking about people who are basically naturally argumentative. There are lots of people in society who love to be argumentative. There's no need for argument, but they like to be argumentative. I'm not talking about that. These are people who have a reason. They have been exposed to some problem. And that's why they're argumentative. So be aware of these points before you jump into an argument. So this is where there will be a difference between you and other people who haven't heard about what I've just mentioned. Okay, anyone who is in pain or has physical illness or is under severe stress can behave in an aggressive manner. Although deep down, they're very nice people, very friendly. And some women who suffer from premenstrual tension syndrome or difficult menopause can also behave very aggressively. When deep down, they are very nice women, very friendly, and are always helpful to other people, but during that time may become very aggressive. So if you are understanding, you can see why that person is behaving that way. So you can adjust your thinking. You don't have to retaliate because you now know why people behave the way they do. So when a person is frustrated, he or she can talk incessantly and will not allow anybody to put their word in. They just keep on talking. When you have that person who is very frustrated for whatever reason, all you have to do is calmly listen. After a few minutes, the aggression will have settled down. This is the act of ventilation. Allow people to talk. Let them get things off their chest. And then this is an opportunity for you to learn to be a good listener. And when you're a good listener, because a lot of people like to talk, put their word in. If you're a good listener, it puts you in a very strong position. You learn more, you are able to judge more, and you become much more wiser just because you are a good listener. So somebody who comes to you who's very frustrated, talking incessantly, you don't retaliate. You say, I haven't done anything to you. Why are you telling me all this? You don't do that. Just listen calmly. Allow that person to get things off the chest, and that person will feel better. First, frustration in some individuals leads to aggression. It may be vented out verbally with a shout and swear, or it may be vented out physically where they lash out with punches or even cause physical assault. The worrying thing is that this sort of aggression is vented out on the very people who are close to them, the people who will stand by them when they need them. And this is what happens very frequently. So it may be vented out on the partner, on the children, on the siblings, on the parents, pets, and even neighbors. These are people who stand by them, and yet they are the ones who are the victims of the aggression. They spoil it, therefore, with the very people they really need. Why? Because they have no control over their aggression. The aggression came about because of the frustration. So, discussion is a very important tool and that you can use in your life. And in any matter of importance, each person is allowed to present his or her views constructively, and the other listens patiently. So when one is presenting the view, the other has to listen. You don't have to keep on butting in. Then both partners have to keep their egos aside. Because when you're having a discussion and you still have your ego to say that I really know more than this person who is discussing with me, it won't work. Nobody is clever than nobody. Everybody's got gifts, certain type of gifts in this world. And sometimes people who look very dim, they sometimes come out with the brilliant ideas, and they are also very gifted people. So don't underestimate anybody. So a discussion is a constructive exercise engaged in with an open mind purely to explore best possible options that benefit the couple. When there is more of discussions than arguments, peace and harmony abounds in that home. Okay, now researchers can now predict with 81 to 80% accuracy whether or not a particular couple will remain together or separate. It can be predicted who is going to be together, who is going to separate. One pattern that predicts relationship duration is the balance of positive and negative interactions, the balance. Now, what is positive interaction? Positive interaction is when the individual is very nice towards his or her partner, is very kind, compliments the partner, supports the partner, encourages the partner, and shows that he or she cares. These are positive interactions. So what is negative interaction? Negative interaction is when they have arguments, criticize, show contempt, retaliate, and stop communicating. Those are negative interactions. Now, positive interactions can repair damage done by negative interactions. However, negative interactions have a stronger impact than positive interactions. So couples need to engage in far more positive interactions than negative interactions to remain stable. So when you have been indulging in a lot of negative interactions, you have to do 5 times as many positive interactions to balance one negative interaction. So you can see the amount of positive interaction is necessary to neutralize the negative. Stable and happy couples consistently engage in at least 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction. So you need 5 positive for 1 negative. That is how strong a negative interaction is. What is a negative interaction? Let me remind you. Negative interaction is arguing, criticizing, showing contempt, retaliating, and stopping communication. These are negative. These are just examples. Couples who maintain 5-to-1 ratio of positive interactions to negative interactions are less likely to separate. So can you see how important it is that the way you behave with each other, whether it's a man or the woman in a partnership, in a relationship, has a bearing. It determines whether this relationship will last or will not last. People are not aware. They keep on arguing, fighting. That's no good. Because, why do we say it's no good? Because suppose if there is separation, there is a price to be paid for it. What is the price? It can be mental health. Secondly, litigation costs, sometimes 20,000 pounds per person. Then there is the child care. Then they live in a bigger house. They have to move into a smaller house. Then there is physical illnesses that arise because of the separation. And there are so many other following repercussions as a result of the separation. Like the children who are involved in that separation pay a price when they're older. When they get married, they also have difficulties, and it does affect them in terms of what the parents went through. So it is not something to be taken lightly to separate. There is a huge cost that is to be paid because of separation. So if you remember this, what I said about the arguments part, when you have a choice, you always discuss, not argue, because there is a price to be paid. Finally, take into consideration the penalties and sufferings sustained during the process of separation and after separation, It is abundantly clear that some time spent mastering the art of discussion will prevent sufferings, material losses, and retain a happy and peaceful family home. Thank you. So I would like to now invite Ms. Ifat Tejani. If you'd like to come on there. You can stand here so people can see you. That is the famous Miss Ifat Tejani. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Miss Ifat Tejani, who will introduce you to the enjoyable as well as a most relaxing and interesting hobby of cycling. Miss Ifat Tejani is a British cycling breeze champion and level 2 cycling coach. She is the co-founder of Evolve Cycling Network. She and her colleague have trained over 50 women to ride and held the first sportive for women from Harrow to Windsor, consisting of 60 riders from the age of 16 to 65, completing the 37 and 50 miles route. She is keen to build Evolve, the cycling network for women. The aim of Evolve is to diversify cycling and make it more inclusive within all communities. Ms. Ifat Tejani, welcome. So would you like to stand or sit?
I'll have a sit.
Yeah.
I tried to get everybody on the bike, but that may happen a bit later on.
Okay. So I think I'll stay here.
Okay.
And
And familiarize myself.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll,
fantastic.
deal
Thank
with
you so much.
The screen so that it
Fantastic.
focuses on you.
All right. It's like can't see anything without your glasses. Just have to the little prop that you have to have on. Thank you very much for the Dr. Laka for the wonderful intro as well. And Assalamu alaikum. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me here. I don't know whether if you can see the great tool behind me. We're talking about well-being and feeling good about yourself. And like for your yoga, you've got your mats. You've got your rackets for your tennis. I have a nice tool behind me, which I don't know if you can see. I call it enjoyment on two wheels. Whenever we talk about cycling, straight away we always think it's for kids. It's something my kids do. A lot of women, especially from the ethnic minority background that we come from, cycling is not something that we did. I myself, I learned at the age of 37, and it was after I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Thought if this was it, what would I like to do? My husband was a keen cyclist, and I was always left on the sidelines. They would cycle, I would walk behind them. The same with the kids as well. I would trot behind them. And after a while, I was like, that's it. I want to do something about this. So at the age of 37, I learned to cycle, which became a hobby, which then became a passion. And now it's a cause. And it's a cause because we've, set up Evolve, which is a cycling network. And I've got some riders in front of me who actually learned, Taslim and Nas, you guys are the examples that it can be done at any age. So, cycling has got the benefits. You enjoy the fresh air outside. It can get you further, you can travel quite nice. You can get to Windsor. No, I'm not saying everybody can do that. I want to do that straight away. You notice some amazing places around. And there are a lot of times I've been out cycling and I've noticed these little quaint coffee shops or these little quaint castles, which you would not know unless you've been on your bike and you stop to actually take a photo. And what's actually happened, I've then taken my kids and my family to go in and visit it. So it's really good for your well-being. For me, with my cancer, it was my healing process. I was able to get out. I was able, and in fact, I've been through it twice. So the second time, it was very much of a healing process because it actually got me out. On the opposite side, it would have been something that would have really, perhaps would have put me to depression, but certainly not. Um, what we have now done, we've trained about 12 women to become coaches, and that's women coaches because cycling is very much considered a white male in lycra sport. And we've actually put it out there and said, no, it doesn't matter what you wear. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be in lycra. You don't have to have the most fancy bikes, though it can get a little bit fancier as you take up the sports a little bit serious. And as I said, we've got 12 women who are actually coaches and who are delivering with the, people like Taz and Naz as well as kids. So I thought it would be nice, actually. I've given a little bit intro for cycling. I've got health benefits. It does help, with diabetes. It's very low impact on your knees as well, because there's a time if you're a runner, you'll be, it's got a limited shelf time. I'm a lazy walker, so I prefer cycling as well because I can go further away. But apart from that, I want to open it up. Let's have a chat about cycling. Let's have any questions. Let's have talk about fears, because the first thing I said to you, okay, get on the bike. The first thought is, oh my God, I've got no balance. But these are all, as Tasleem and Naz, perhaps you guys can come and share experiences. Balance is something that can be taught. And once it kicks in, you're out enjoying. As I said, as we said in the intro, the oldest lady to complete the Windsor Sportive was 65. And she did ride London, literally 2-3 weeks. So it can be done. So over to you guys. Ask me questions. Let's talk about cycling. So, Tasleem, let's start with you. Do you want to come around?
No. No, I actually learned to cycle. It took me a long time, but the coaches, I have to say, were very, very encouraging, very patient. And every time I said I can't do it, she would say, you can do it. And she pushed me. And then that time on the third lesson, when I actually rode on my own, I couldn't believe it. This was really doable. And I have to say, I've never looked back.
Naz?
I think the fear.
Was it the fear of falling? Okay. Yeah. So to overcome, and ideally the way we kind of also teach now is the moment when we say about cycling, everybody feels, okay, 2 pedals, big push, off you go. See you down the road. The high. Yes.
To buy this hybrid bike, where it's better to get on a little, child bike.
So the way we actually teach now is very much different. So we literally, for adults or be it for kids, we actually take the pedals off. A lot of parents, when they bring the kids, they put the stabilizers on, and that's the worst thing you can do for your child. Because what happens is balance cannot be taught. Balance is something that actually comes, while working on it. So we normally tell parents, do your kids, take the stabilizers off, take the pedals off, bring the seat right down flat, okay? And literally walk your bike with your feet. And literally we'll have, one step after the other until you can see a balance has been derived. We also, and I'll actually get you all on the bike. Has anybody been cycling? Does anybody know? Oh, fantastic. I should take you out for a ride. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes. So ideally that's what we're addressing now, because and the thing is, once you start cycling, you actually learn the amount of networks that we've got. And British Cycling have got something called Breeze Ride, which is just for women only. And yeah, so that basically, and it has from beginners all the way to advanced. And in fact, it's the concept of group riding, because you have a trained ride leader, and that's what basically a Breeze champion is. You have a trained ride leader who knows the routes around, who basically will plan the route from A to B. So that, for example, riding around Pino Village, or, Pina Gardens. And in fact, if you come out, you can see there are a lot of what we call the natural cycleways. So ideally, you can actually go to A to B without having to go on the road as well. There is a lot of work going on the background at the moment, is educating people as well. We do ride, as I said, we do ride on the road, but there are a few things you need to learn, and that is your road position, to be able to be seen on the road, to be able to actually hold your position on the road. And at times is very much like, this is my space, and I'm going to be staying there. There has been a change in the rule as well. So ideally, if you are, be a meter away from the curb, so that you don't get caught up by cars. So there is a lot of, with recycling, Cycling UK, TFL London, there's a lot of work going at the moment to educate drivers as well, that you see a cyclist, you need to be at least 2 meters away when you're overtaking, ideally on the second lane. There is still a lot, and I think a lot needs to be done, but that's something that can be, that we can, we can teach you. And that's something a group ride normally helps, because it actually sandwiches you with the confident riders as well. Yeah, but at the end, I'll drop you some details and just come out with us. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, I like to hear that. Wow. Okay. Have you been cycling recently, or have you stopped? There's some lovely routes. Do you cycle around here? Wales is beautiful. There's some really, really nice routes which are off-road. Yeah, sorry, what did you say? Where was that again?
There are lots of cycling tracks, but over the process, I've lost so many bikes. I've told my family, I'm to the 51, I'm not getting on the bike.
We actually, with Evolve, because with Evolve, we're always trying to break barriers. So, we looked at it, so what are our barriers? Not having women coaches was a barrier. We addressed that. Not having bikes was another barrier. So we actually went and, started off a bike library. So where women can actually use the bikes from the bike library until they're prepared to buy, or they don't even have to buy. That's something they can do. So yeah, we can, again, security wise as well, a lot what has happened with us, we've had to go and educate ourselves, looking at, what bikes can women buy? How can they secure their bikes? Where can they keep their bikes? How can they clean their bikes? And for some of us, we are on to becoming mechanics to see how we can, look after these bikes as well. So yes, by all means, let's get you out there, and hopefully our next Harrow to Windsor, we can convince you to get cycling. Well, we can definitely help you out with that one.
Space to learn, not to push you on the road straight,
Yeah.
But there are also car parks free on the weekend. Yeah.
They are. Eventually what you find is when you find your feet, and when you're paddling, when you're paddling, because you've got all the skills, you can take corners. You want to venture out a little bit. You want to go to Wales, or you want to come out of the car park and go to, Ebury Way, or go to for a coffee place, Ideally, you won't get pushed out on the road straight away. I think people have got this image that the moment you put on 2 wheels, that's it. You are ideally, we start in parks, we start in car parks. And if none of them for cycling tracks, so we've got a really nice cycling track up in Hillingdon, where we train, and we had the Slim would know, we have a Eat Cyclothon, where we had, women racing, or literally going around the track at whatever speed you want. So there is one in Hillingdon, there is one in Redbridge. There is a really nice park from Watford, Ebury Way, which is all road. It's beautiful all the way to Richmond. In fact, if you want to stay off-road, it can take you all the way to Windsor. That park takes you all the way to Windsor as well. So it's a fun. It does. It actually takes you to there's a beautiful place called Blackjack Mills. It gets you to Hillingdon. It gets a little bit rough. You have to be prepared to walk a little bit and then get on to. But in fact, you stay on it. Yesterday, we went all the way to Kew Gardens. So, we went via Paddington, and then we joined Kew Gardens. So ideally, what we normally do whenever you plan, so as you're training, as you build up, and it's really, you can go from 1 mile to 10 miles very quickly. It's very different than to running and to walking, because you can literally, you will be cycling for 3 miles. I think I've taken you for 3 miles and you not even realize. And then as you step, it's almost like a stepping block. So you're 3 miles and you do your 5 miles. And it's always, you plan when you're gonna have when you're gonna fuel. So if you're gonna do a 10 mile, at 5 miles, you'll have a stop. You have a coffee, you will refuel. Then you'll do your next one. So ideally, it's not like you sit on your bike and you go. It's always planning on how far can you go. And if that's something you learn as you go. A lot of us, what we do is during the winter, we bring our training in because we don't want to lose we don't want to lose our fitness. So there is a boom in indoor trainers now. So people actually have got what we call turbo riding, where actually you bring your outdoor bike indoors. And there is an app called Zwift, which is virtual riding. So a lot of time over the winter months, we're building our fitness to be able to be prepared, ready for summer for us to go out. When I started off, 3 miles, and I was, maybe walked a mile of it, and the other, 2 miles I cycled. But that's okay. Yeah, because that's how you build. It's the same. You're not going to run a 5K or 10K straight away. You'll do your half walk and half thing. That's absolutely fine as well. Yeah. It does. It does really throw out of your, and with cycling, it hasn't stopped us. At the weekend, we tried track bikes. I don't know if you've watched the Olympics. So you've seen the Olympics, and they've got these bikes, they're zooming around on the velodrome on the bank like that. So about 6 of us, we said, okay, yes, we can cycle. Let's throw ourselves on the track bikes. It took us an hour and a half. I mean, it took me an hour and a half to gain my confidence, because those bikes don't have brakes and they've only got one gear. And if you stop paddling on the bike, basically the back comes up. And the way you also start, your actually feet are locked in, and you're supposed to hold off and start off. And we were all petrified. It was literally, we were like, absolutely not, we're not going to be doing this. But as we slowly conquered that fear, threw us out of our comfort zone, we loved it, because it was literally, and some of us were up on the bank coming down. So I always say, when you come out of your comfort zone is when you're going to grow. I knew at the age of 37, I had that option. Okay, I could be really scared and just say, okay, because a fall, after you've had, after you've had breast cancer, you've had a mastectomy, a fall can actually stop you. So I just, when I have come out of my comfort zone and I've gone and learned this, and the same for the women involved. Oh yes, I had a spectacular fall. I think a couple of, every time I had a fall, I was trying to do something very silly. Okay, it was not because I was either had taken my hand off, or I was playing with my phone, or at one time I had a fall was, I was on a very thin wire and I was in the park and a child ran. This can happen. I mean, at times on a holiday and you missed a step, and I know it happened to it does, right? And your foot goes.
Don't know. You see, but here you're laying yourself it's like you're asking for it.
You're asking for it.
You know that it's a big possibility. I mean, the others,
Yeah.
It can happen.
It can happen, but again, if you've learned more, if you've learned how to, and a lot of times we tell women that, look, if you learn to ride and you feel like you're going to fall, let the bike go. Don't let yourself go. A lot of time we find people panic and they let themselves go, and then what they do, the bike has fallen, and rather than just standing waiting for somebody to come and help you, they're trying to step over the bike, and in fact the falls have happened off the bike rather than on the bike. So yeah, it does happen. As we've, after a twist at your ankle, you're here to tell a story. I came off at my elbow. You get back on it and you continue paddling. That's what life is. And that's how I always see life is. You cannot see it as something like, okay, being something, I'm going to fall. I'm going to be fearful. We stop living.
Break your arm or something, the work or
It does.
and that's where the
And I think that's what, but the thing is, for example, I think you broke your wrist, right, while you were on holiday. But it hasn't stopped you walking.
true.
It hasn't stopped you going on a holiday. Yeah. So ideally, it's basically we build up these fears, and I'm one of them who clearly does that. When I was on the track bike, my fear was high, and their fear was falling. But then he was like, wait, I had a coach who was teaching me how he was there to look after me. He was literally, in the moment I stepped out of that fear, I was able to conquer it. And as I said, we can't live I mean, for me, I find that I don't like to live my life.
Anywhere like old go.
We can wrap ourselves out in bubble. We can do that. We can do that. But at times, if it's meant, no matter how much you're wrapped up in bubble, if you wrap yourself up in bubble, yeah, you can. You can have knee pads, you can have that one, but that restricts your movement. It restricts your movement. As I said, we've got, somebody who's been cycling their whole life.
No, I don't know. I want the confidence. I don't know. I think it makes you very confident in life as well. If you can overcome the fear of cycling and go on the road, I think it brings an internal confidence.
There is a confidence of growth that brings into you. It's like and in independence as well. I mean, it's absolute joy to be able to ride with your kids.
Because
You can.
sometimes the spin bike and two people.
Oh, the
cycling,
tandems.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. And sometimes you have a little sit at the back and one person better than
Yeah. Actually, that's where I fell in love with cycling. Because I couldn't cycle, and my husband being one, we had gone to Vancouver, and he thought it was really funny. Stick me at the back of tandem, and what's going to happen? I thought I'll let him do the work, and that was really fun. I wanted to go again the next day because it's just a concept of fresh air. And I was during that period, you literally you and your thoughts, and you're so busy on trying to control the tool, trying to keep you, nothing else matters. And I've had days when you are absolutely on your down mood and you're in a really bad mood. Get on your bike, be it indoors or outdoors. You come out a different person. You completely, yeah, you'll just. When you when you live in the UK, and when you're surrounded by hills, your fitness comes in. When you have got literally hills at 500 feet, and we're talking about riding just around here, it's literally your fitness comes in because it's how you pedal. It is, yeah, it can. So when you do, so for example, when you do socially, you'll have a coffee break and you'll have, you'll do 5 mile and you go for a coffee. That's fantastic. But if you want to take it as fitness, so we go an hour on a turbo, you sweat like anything. My heart rate absolutely goes up. I mean, goes up to 150. And to be able then to sustain that heart rate, you need to build up your lungs. And, and literally and then we build up our cadence. Cadence is how fast you're pedaling. Bring those elements in. So when you're looking at women doing 30, 60, and 100 miles, you can't do that socially. You need to train your body for it. You need to take your cadence. You see how you need to look at your nutrition. You need to look at your fuel. A lot of time when I'm cycling, I have a heart rate monitor on. So the heart rate monitor, and I've got a sensor that tells me how I'm, how fast I'm moving my legs. And, that's when then the element of speed comes in. So as a sport, I mean, if you look at cyclists and if you look at the legs and if you look at the muscles, every time to be able to sustain your heart rate, to be able to go at 50, 100 miles or 60 miles sportive, it basically you train your body. So that's where the sporting element comes in. Cycling itself has got about 9 disciplines. You have your social elements, and you have the BMX when you have kids jumping up and down. You've got the track, which I did. You've got the cyclocross, which is on the grass. So as a sport, it's huge. And yeah, if you want to carry on for fitness, I can challenge you an hour on the turbo. I'll give you 45 minutes on the turbo. When you're pedaling constantly, trust me, you've seen us on the track, how out of breath we get. And yeah, everywhere you turn around is hills. And in order to conquer those hills, you will have to train your heart because you won't be able to otherwise do the hills. You'll end up walking them.
I think it's crossing the boundary between the leisurely sports, leisurely social life,
Mm,
rather than entering the sports, boundary.
yeah. It's like any, you have, people who do like, who will play badminton and tennis, who just go out and leisurely. And they'll have people who kind of want to do as a sport, who enjoy that part side of things. Like we do women time trials. A lot of women who started off socially. And suddenly we threw in, like at Eid Cyclism, we had a 10-mile time trial. And the women loved it because it was like for 10 miles in an enclosed circuit, how much can you push? How fast you can go? And I think we've all got that competitive streak in us. I would have to say maybe 60-70% have got. I got a question about how fitness and how sport comes in, tells me there is a group that who want to go a little bit faster. And once that has bitten you, which trust me does, because I was exactly where you were literally a decade ago. It's like, yeah, I want to go slow. I want to. But when you are able to get to Windsor and back, that bites you. You want to then start, I think the human nature is we like pushing ourselves a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to learn a little bit more. No, I mean, with ourselves. Yeah. I mean, if I've, like if I signed up for a 60-mile or a 30-mile sportive, it's what I'm capable of. And yeah, maybe you want to lose weight or maybe you want to get fit. Oh yeah, as long as you don't stop and have cakes. I mean, literally, yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely. I mean, we've looked at it. When I have done a 30, 60 miles, about 1,000, yeah, you do. And especially on the indoor one, because you see on the outdoor, you'll glide. So you'll have your respite. Indoor, you don't get. You have to get, I don't, do you use Zwift at all? Zwift. Yes. Mm. Okay. If yeah, if it hurts your knees, I would say straight away you need to look at your saddle height. Yeah, because if your saddle is too low, because what happens if your saddle is too low, you're really crunched up. Okay, so literally, then you put in, your knee is literally close to you. So ideally, you need to have a nice extension in your leg, so we almost be able to, you're able to pedal efficiently. The other thing you'll also look at, you look at your saddle where it is, so a lot of when we are doing longer rides and we want to spend a lot more time, we have a bike fit. So bike fit will look at, how our feet are, as if when you've been, when I've been coaching you, I've always been talking about your feet position, your saddle height position, how move your saddle is, so that all these elements which which can be addressed to take all these little discomforts out. So yeah. Mm. Yeah. 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 So a lot of hybrids. So, a lot of women start off with hybrids. I remember when we started, but a lot of hybrids now, we normally say women, if you look at bikes, they have this thick silver suspensions. This one doesn't. Um, so this one is without a suspension. You see, they've got the silver bars. We normally tell women, look, don't go for those kind of bikes because the suspension is dead weight. We don't need it. So if you're going for a hybrid, most of the hybrids, less than I would have to say, try to go between 9 and 10 kilos. Yeah. So 9 and 10 kilos is literally, if somebody like me who's had a breast cancer can lift it, I'm pretty sure, it can be lifted. A lot of bikes come with quick releases now as well. So if you don't want to invest on a rack, which goes at the back of your bike, you can actually, the quick release is just a lever that releases your front bike, your front wheel, and it fits beautifully into your bike. The folded ones are heavy. The folded ones, though there are some new ones like the Brompton bikes. They are, if you want to take it as a sport, then I would say, go for a road bike with the drop handles, because that's where the weight saving comes in. And if you're going to be taking seriously, then you start looking at gears, in order to get you up those hills. So, and yeah, if you really want to take it seriously, then you invest in a road bike. Yeah. Electric, we have some big laws about electric bikes. E-bikes are coming in, they're very big now. I was at a national cycling show at the weekend, and most of the bikes were e-bikes and I've been riding. I remember we were up in training in Aldenham, and Aldenham is the hills. And you could see there were 6 of us knocking ourselves out. And this bike just comes from the back and just zooms through. And then there was another cyclist behind. This man came and he said, that's an e-bike. So we have a love-hate relationship with them because we make the hard work and they just zoom out. But to be honest with you, if you're looking at e-bikes, you're not going to get your sport. You're not going to get that workout. E-bikes is mostly used for commute. Again, e-bikes is also, mostly for commuting. As I said, the UK is nice and hilly. So if you want to, a lot of older generation look at e.
Both ways. Does it work as a manual bike and an e-bike, or it's just?
If you forget to charge your battery, then you're in trouble. Yeah, so then you can imagine there'll be dead weight. Yeah, but you can imagine. So the weight of the battery. I know there's some lighter batteries that have come in at the moment. There's something called I think it's called Switch, which basically converts any bike into an e-bike. Yeah, so it will take any hybrid, any road bike, and converts it into Switch. It's just a little, I think, almost the size of this. It goes on the front. So in front, it will go in front of this, in front of road bike. I think it's called Switch. It's the whole bike industry. I mean, especially since since the lockdown, cycling has seen a boom because everything was shut. The roads were empty, so it was nice to be able to get out. And it was, people were they don't want to use trains because of the whole COVID. So people are actually commuting more. So since COVID, the cycling has been a massive boom. Well, exactly now, so you can either get, perhaps getting an e-bike is going to be cheaper, right? To be able to travel past.
But they're so expensive. Bikes are expensive.
It also depends. The thing is, it also depends. It's like your car. You can go for a budget car or you can splash out. It's entirely up to you what you want to do. The secondhand, there are so many secondhand bike shops, we bought so many bikes off Facebook Marketplace. Then we check it on the UK registry that it's not stolen. And or literally it depends on you. It depends on whether, that's why we got the bike library. We want you to try the bikes, which are hybrids. Try the bikes, get the experience. Is it for you? Do you want to go further? Do you want to? I mean, we had a lady who did a 30-mile on a hybrid. We'll ride London just on the 29th of May. And she was able. So it's very much down to you how much But trust me, you will not look back. When you arrive at Windsor, 8 o'clock in the morning, wake up the Queen. I think it's the best feeling ever. So taking care of the bike is like, okay, do you know how to put oil in your car? I will. Yes, I would love to. So after these sessions, when Zoom is over, I'm going to actually get you all on the bike. And yeah, I definitely would love to, again, we taught ourselves that. We taught ourselves how to clean our bikes, how to wash our bikes, how to lube our bikes. Very, very easy. We can degrease our bikes. So before the sportive, we clean our bikes. And that is something we taught ourselves via YouTube. Puncture, how to change a kit, how to change. And in fact, now on my road bike, I'm running tubeless. If you want to enjoy, if you do want to enjoy something, and it's like, if you do want to take it up seriously as a sport, the same thing, your car has got too much work. You've got to fuel the car. You can end up having a puncture. You could, change the oil. You have to change the screen wash. Come on, throw some list at me. Check the pressure. Yeah. So if you're going to do this as an alternative, and you've got to watch. Oh, you know what? I have to say, I love cleaning my bike. I've got my stand out. I put my bike on the stand, and then I have my husband coming around and said, are you going to clean mine as well? So I was like, okay, offer me coffee, maybe, or take me out for dinner. And I went, yeah, it's the most therapeutic thing to do is to actually sit and clean my bike. Literally go with a toothbrush and actually clean each and every. I love it. It's me time. It's me time.
So you're telling us that if we get a bike, we're going to start riding our bike because it's tea time. Yeah.
If you buy me coffee, I'll think about it. And maybe throw in a cake as well. Done it. Actually, Pinner's got some really nice coffee and cake places. Daisy's in the park. It's the best place to go to. But
I've been to her home. She's taught me so much.
Even talking about my cars, I have no idea. I don't know anything.
a lot of time, I think, and yes, as much as yes, we love our men helping us out as well. But I think for true women empowerment as well, it's nice for us to teach ourselves as well. And I think, and if we were to speak to the women in Evolve, apart from just running this, learning how to cycle, the skills that have been transferred, a lot of them, when the concept of coaching came out, and we all looked at each other and we're like, how are we going to coach? We've just got on our bikes. We just, but is again, when we stepped out of our comfort zone and we actually went to this coaching, and when we learned about our bikes, and it's, for me, the most beautiful thing is to look at the skills, to be able, suddenly the women are talking about, oiling the bike, degreasing your bike, which very much is considered a man thing to do. And we looked at ourselves and said, actually, you know what? We were capable of it. We were capable of it. And okay, my first bike, I bought it off Halfords, which I don't recommend now that I know. So ideally what we say is, so a lot of bike, you have your extra small, small, medium, and large, which is very much also by your height. So which is an inside leg measure. Okay. Most women, extra small, small. Yeah. I'm 5'0", so I'm an extra small. So ideally when you go, so when you go wherever, whenever you go for a bike fit, is literally make sure that there is a nice, your arms are not stretched out. There is a wee bit of a bend. Yeah, you're able. So normally what we do, the perfect fit is you don't want to have your foot completely on the ground because that's going to hurt your knees. So we put you on the stationary turbos, we call, where we hook up your bike, and we actually get you to press your feet, and we look down onto the pedal, and we look at your knee to see the angle that So those are kind of the measurements they would do. And a lot of bikes also, a lot of manufacturers have their, they'll say extra small for 5'0" to 5' thing. But a good bike shop will do that for you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. And yeah, please reach me out if you have any questions. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.